You were out. And the leadership in the Bruderhof is really into power, and the only way they can have that power is by knowing exactly what's going on.
How about wiretapping?
I didn't have anything to do with it. So, I mean, you would also like to know what's happening, wouldn't you? If, you know, people get together about your family and so on. So we're also human beings who do mistakes.
Phone taps, harassing calls, electronic surveillance, odd ministries to be sure for devout Amish-like Christians. But nothing has alarmed the critics of the Bruderhof more than Christoph Arnold's application for a license to carry a concealed weapon.
I would say that Eberhard Arnold would be turning in his grave, almost the principle of a rotisserie.
Julius Rubin, author of an upcoming book on the Bruderhof.
It's just unthinkable in terms of their early history that they would have any guns at all.
It's an American right, isn't it?
Arnold says the criticism is overkill. The gun, now gone, was for rabid animals.
They say that on the permit application you wrote it was for personal protection.
Against a rabid animal, it is personal protection, and it is the only reason the law enforcement people understand. So I just put it because everybody else puts it that way.
And the concealed weapon that he chose was a .44 Magnum pistol. It's called a cannon. It's the kind of weapon that Dirty Harry used in the Clint Eastwood movies. One doesn't use a .44 caliber laser-sighted weapon that you conceal on your person to shoot a rabid animal. I think that sincerely they're afraid of some type of attack from the outside. I think they really see the world in terms of enemies that are set out to destroy them.
Quite a flap over that weapon, huh?
There is, Peter. Think back to the movie Witness about an Amish community.
Yeah.
The Bruderhof are an Amish-like pacifist group with a strong tradition of pacifism. In a community like that, for a gun to be brought in, it's unthinkable. For example, one of their codes is they'll frequently ask you, what would you do if a murderer came in and tried to murder your children and your family? And the answer is you would put yourself between the attacker and your family, but you would not raise your fist against someone, even someone who intended to do you harm.
Okay. When we come back, Bruderhof family values.
Coming up later, the vow of poverty, jettisoned, and next, cut off from her family, Susanna's story.
I felt that if that's what God was, what they were representing, then I didn't want to have a part of it.
And when did the trouble start for you in the Bruderhof?
Well, trouble, it's hard to say. I think I realized, that I felt that I should leave or wanted to leave by the time I was 12, I would say, because I felt that if that's what God was, what they were representing, then I didn't want to have a part of it.
Susanna Zumpy always had trouble fitting into the restrictive lifestyle of the Bruderhof.
She had to make public confessions to such crimes as shaving her legs or listening to Simon and Garfunkel, for example. But at the age of 12, a far more potent evil entered her life. In this sexually reactionary community where hand-holding and flirting are considered the work of the devil, Susanna claims an older male member of the Bruderhof sexually molested her in the shower. Susanna,
he is still with the community, and she's now on the outside, away from the family she loves.
Has justice been done there?
I don't feel it has. If somebody there commits a crime that is a crime in the United States of America, that they should also be treated like anybody else living here, and that they shouldn't have their own set of rules.
Are you familiar with the case?
A little bit, but not enough. That happened in one of the other communities.
But you're in charge of the communities, though.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved.
Christoph Arnold pleads ignorance of Susanna's situation, sort of.
I think Susanna's also exaggerating it, because I've read her letters in Kid, and you can't believe everything she says.
Susanna now lives with her brother Dieter, who left the Bruderhof 10 years earlier. Their parents are still with the Bruderhof.
Doesn't that hurt as a daughter?
Very much it does. I always thought that they would just stick up for me, but I guess I was naive. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be together as a family, and I pretty much accepted that now.
Often, broken families are the result of the Bruderhof practice of church discipline, which involves various degrees of exclusion or shunning. Sometimes members are not allowed to talk to others for a few days. More serious offenders are separated from their families and sent outside the community for a longer time.
We were always told that everybody on the outside is evil.
Miriam Arnold Holmes was excluded for 2 years inside the community.
No one spoke to her, no one ate with her, she was a virtual untouchable. Then one day in 1964, Miriam was put in a car and driven out of the community.
And we rode off. They didn't tell me where I was going. Nobody said goodbye. Nobody came to the car.
She was dropped off at a YWCA outside Pittsburgh. The Bruderhof gave her $50 to start a new life.
My heart just broke for my father. I thought, my father is never going to live this one down.
In the outside world, if a child doesn't listen to Papa and Mama, don't they sometimes say, you're out of here if you don't abide by my rules?
To the Bruderhof, exclusion is simply a tool to help man get right with God.
And the minute